The summer of 1980 was in some ways similar to the summer of 2011, when a league that should have been won had been lost at the death, but with the Scottish Cup won in the final match to at least secure some silverware at the end of a disappointing season.
Headed away by Dawson, kicked back by Snedden, and headed by Fasai. McGrain, an astonishing goal by McGrain. Danny McGrain has scored. McGrain hit the ball there, finally deflected off McCluskey. McCluskey getting the final credit. There he is, right in the middle of your picture. Watch it again. Out it comes to McGrain. He volleys it forward. A flick there by McCluskey, away, well away from McCloy, and McCluskey has scored the goal, which could very well be the winner in the...
During season 1979-80, Billy McNeill had added Dom Sullivan and Frank McGarvey to the squad that had won the league in his first season in charge, beating Rangers 4-2 with 10 men in May 1979 to deny the Ibrox club a second successive treble. But now their ageing squad was another year older, and the main threat to Celtic's position as the dominant force in Scotland was Alex Ferguson's Aberdeen. Celtic had gotten the calendar year of 1980 off to a poor start, drawing 6 of their first 9 Premier Division matches, while still managing to beat Real Madrid 2-0 in the first leg of the European Cup quarter-final. But nevertheless, after beating Rangers 1-0 on the evening of 2nd of April 1980, were 7 points ahead of Aberdeen, who had one game in hand. Two defeats at home against the Dons, plus 2 defeats on Tayside, the second a calamitous 5-1 debacle at Dens Park a few days before the second match against Aberdeen, saw the lead evaporate by the end of the month, and Aberdeen snatched the title with a win at Easter Road, while Celtic slumped to yet another draw at St Mirren in the final match. Everything was overshadowed that close season though by the Hampden riot after the 1980 Scottish Cup final, with much of the coverage blaming the Celtic players who had apparently provoked the violence by celebrating with their own fans behind the goal over 100 metres away from where the Rangers fans came charging towards them. One far-reaching consequence of the riot was the banning of alcohol from Scottish football grounds, bringing to an end the Kerry-Out era in a bid to curtail the hooliganism that had plagued the game throughout the 1970s. There was no expectation of an annual big summer spend in Scottish football in those days, and in fact a week or so after winning the title, Aberdeen lost their star striker Steve Archibald in a record £800,000 deal to Tottenham Hotspur. Archibald had been recommended to Celtic by then Clyde manager Billy McNeill in 1977, but when Jock Stein declined to sign him, McNeill paid £20,000 to take him to Pittodrie when he moved there himself that summer. After 4 successful seasons at Spurs, Archibald went on to play for Barcelona, where the Catalans nicknamed him Archigol, his goals propelling them to their first title in 11 years and the 1986 European Cup final. While Aberdeen had lost a striker, Celtic were preparing to unveil a new one of their own in the shape of 18-year-old Charlie Nicholas. Billy McNeill had toyed with the idea of introducing Charlie towards the end of 1979-80 as the goals dried up, but had decided against putting that kind of responsibility on a young player. He made a couple of substitute appearances at the beginning of the season, but burst onto the scene in a League Cup second leg match against Stirling Albion on the 30th of August. Already trailing 1-0 from the first leg, Stirling took a short lead, and although Dom Sullivan equalised, it took until 3 minutes from time before Tommy Burns at last managed an equaliser to force extra time and spare Celtic's blushes. Nicholas had been thrown on shortly before Burns' goal, and in extra time, as Celtic finally clicked, he scored 2, created 1, and had a hand in the other, as 4 goals were slammed home against the tiring 10-men part-timers.
With the throw. Nicholas again. Oh, the perfect cutback, and Burns rattles it in. The brilliant skills of Charlie Nicholas very much in evidence. The cool way the youngster set that one up, and Tommy Burns said, "Thank you very much." in the...
Now there was no stopping Nicholas, and the goals flowed as a new favourite caught the imagination of the supporters with his thrilling displays of finishing and flair. The other significant change that season was the emergence of 20-year-old Pat Bonner as the new #1 goalkeeper at the club, seizing his chance when Peter Latchford injured his hand in pre-season. The new keeper, like most Celtic goalkeepers since Ronnie Simpson, was a brilliant shot-stopper, but his game was marred at times by costly errors of judgment, particularly at cross balls. But Bonner would remain #1 for over a decade, and on his day was one of the top keepers in the country. Celtic embarked on season 1980-81 determined to regain the league title they had lost to Aberdeen, and they would soon find that the Dons' title win the previous season had been no fluke, as well as facing another threat arising from the northeast, just as Rangers began a slow descent into mediocrity that would last into the second half of the decade. The early 1980s was set to be a golden age in Scottish football.
Miller committed himself to the tackle. I think he must have realised it was all going to be a bit awkward and clumsy for him, but he had to go right through with it. So young Charlie Nicholas to take it. 7 minutes gone.
It's gone, and the